So about Georgina, she is a fellow member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountant, ACCA, and she trained in PwC in London. She spent a number of years in the audit profession, and she worked with multinational companies in a variety of industries like pharmaceutical, retail, we've got here financial. And later on, the time that I knew her, she used to be in the education sector, and she was developing online education for professionals and lectures for ACA and ACCA, and specialized in audit and assurance. So she was into online education. Excellent job, because I was part of it, and I was experienced it, and it was a great job done. And then after that, she is one of the first people in the world that has a master's in digital currency, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive right there. And since 2015, she's been spending time, and she's dedicating her time on blockchain and decentralization. So she kind of niched out into that sector, and now obviously she's the CEO of Dcentric.Health and Aria health app. And also she delivers, I guess, on your part-time seminars to international companies and speaking conferences. So this is what I have from Georgina, but I would like to, before I give the stage to her to talk about it, I would like to go through our, and before that, I would like to talk about Startup Grind and the values that we have. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. Okay, so about Startup Grind, first of all, I'm going to make it very, very quick. We have 600 chapters across the globe in 125 countries. So I guess 600 chapter means 600 cities. And we run our operation and our event, our community and our society and everything with 3 values in mind. First of all, we always help others before helping ourselves. We give first and we don't take, and we are in it for making friends and not contacts. And this is the reason why Startup Grind is the biggest organization that runs entrepreneurship event in the world, because this is purely to give back to the society. Then our first sponsor is Sorxmedia, and this is the video that is produced by them. They are the digital and advertising agency. They do digital advertising, social advertising, videography. They do SEO. They do web development and all the digital services that is required for companies to accelerate and grow their customers and grow their revenue. So if you have a company and if you're interested, check them out. It's let's go to the next slide. And we've got our partners, which is our University of Nicosia Career Center. We've got Maria with us. We're very lucky to have them as our partners. They share our events. They get the word out there to people. So it's very nice to have them on board. We've got Google for startups, and then we've got Youth Makerspace Larnaca, which I've been there. There's like a space with laser cut machines, 3D printers, and all the equipment that you can use to build up stuff. And I've been there. It's really cool. And I invite anyone that lives in Larnaca to go check it out. Back to here. And so, Georgina, I introduced you. The stage is yours. Go ahead.
The stage is mine. Okay, well, what do you want? So I'll start with a bit of an introduction of myself then. All right, so yeah, Hassan said a little bit about me. So my background with more of a story. So, I mean, so my first sort of career path was in the accounting world. I actually decided at 18 years old not to go to university, much to the dismay of my parents, and moved to London. I'm from the UK, as you probably can hear from the accent. And I moved to London, and well, actually I worked in the local Wetherspoons, if anyone knows the UK. It's about the worst possible pubs you can work in for a few months before I was lucky enough to get a job with PricewaterhouseCoopers. So I was part of the non-graduate scheme. So they hire about 2,000 graduates a year and about 30 non-graduates. So it was definitely a different lifestyle to what my friends were doing, partying up at university. I was working full-time, and it's the largest professional services firm in the world, and studying the rest of the time for my professional qualification. So anyway, I worked there for about 5 years, living in London, great time, but at some point decided I wanted a different lifestyle. And moved to Cyprus, where I then worked at Deloitte. So I sort of went from one audit firm to the other. But
how did you decide to come to Cyprus?
Well, as someone once said to me, there's only two reasons: it's either love or work. It was love. So yeah, I met my husband at PricewaterhouseCoopers in London. So and then moved over here and was. Well, actually, he wasn't sure if he wanted to come back. And I said, if I have the choice between a cold, wintry country or a sunny beach country, I know where I'm going. So yeah, we came over to Cyprus, which has been awesome and something I've definitely never regretted. Yeah, but I definitely realized that the corporate life, the sort of audit life, I wanted to do more. I wanted to create something, audit, it's really interesting because you go into all these different businesses and you learn about them, but you're always on the outside looking in. And so that's when I sort of started thinking, okay, I want to do something a bit more. I probably didn't even know the word entrepreneurial at the time. I just wanted to do something different and I wasn't sure what yet. But so I went to a Forex company that was moved to Cyprus, and I helped them set up the company in Cyprus. And the main thing actually we sort of got involved in, because they were already sort of set up in other regions, was digital marketing. So I kind of suddenly moved off track from the accounting world and into learning about digital marketing and everything online. So that was really interesting, and I guess started to become what you sort of call an entrepreneur. I got the team set up, started looking at strategy and all that, and found that really interesting. But then I decided to move on from there. I attempted a few ventures with, I set up an accounting firm, doing, small companies accounting, but again, not the most inspiring topic. Before I went to global training, which is part of the University of Nicosia, where I had the pleasure of working with Hess. And we worked together on setting up the online learning for accountants. So this is where I started learning a bit more sort of tech world. Okay, Hassan was part of setting up all the websites, the platforms, how to get people involved from all over the world, online education. I mean, it's become particularly big now, but this was back in 2013. And it was still getting pretty big then, but it's really growing now. So that was really interesting. And again, we sort of took an approach of started to get involved in sales, marketing, tech, lecturing, a bit of everything. And then, as you guys probably know, the University of Nicosia was the first university in the world to start the masters in blockchain or in digital currency. And we decided, well, why don't we, as the sort of professional studies department of the university, professionals need to get into this blockchain thing. So we started making seminars on the online platform for blockchain. And that's where I started thinking, wait, I want to be in blockchain, not in this part of things. So I decided to join the masters in digital currency. And yeah, as Hassan said, I was one of the first in the world. I think I was in the first 44 students to graduate. So I spent sort of the next year and a half working at Global Training. Then I actually moved to the blockchain initiative of the University of Nicosia and did my master's. And it was, as I was coming to the end of my master's, I decided I wanted a thesis. I wanted to start getting more practical, not just learning it academically. And okay, I'll tell you a bit more of the story of the business later, but long story short, I did my thesis in healthcare and started researching, can blockchain be used for medical records? Is it a benefit? Is it realistic given the size of the data, et cetera, et cetera? And the conclusion was yes. So since finishing that, I started the company with my co-founder, Fadi, the company Dcentric.Health. And we started building a mobile application, a blockchain-based mobile application for medical records. So our aim is to really empower patients to have access to all their medical records. And what we do basically is we connect with hospitals, medical providers, laboratories, so that patients can get all their medical records to their mobile application. But more importantly, these records are stored on the blockchain. And so we give control completely back to the patients. They have full control, privacy, security. They know at any time where their records are, and complete transparency. But I'll talk more about the business later. So that's kind of how I
keep the good stuff for the last. Otherwise, you're gonna say everything, and everyone's gonna leave. They get all the information. So, before I continue, I would like to remind you that you can ask your questions on Q&A anytime. Write it there, and we're gonna go through all the questions. And also, it's a good practice if you share your LinkedIn on the chat, so people can add you, kind of like a network later or network after. And so Georgina, one of the reasons that I picked you as one of my speakers is that you managed to move gradually in life. Mm-hmm. Slowly. You weren't like, I don't know, we've got some cases that everything happens so fast, boom, bang, and all over the news and all that, right? But you managed to do it gradually and is more realistic. And let's say, especially when you come from a background of ACCA and ACA and accounting and all that, there's a lot of people that might be in the audience as well that they have this similar background. Mm-hmm. So first of all, I have two questions, which they're kind of related. One is, you explained, okay, you got a new information about blockchain industry, but what made you stop working for someone and start your own company? And what challenges did you have?
Okay, I think there's sort of two main reasons I decided to start my. I'll be honest, I used to hate when people said the term entrepreneur. I used to think, oh, it's all very pretentious. Everyone calls themselves an entrepreneur, and I used to really kind of avoid it until eventually I accepted, I think I want to be an entrepreneur. And yeah, I think the main thing for me is I like to be in charge of my destiny. I like responsibility. I like to be the one that if I do something wrong, it's my fault and I have to suck it up and handle it. And I like to be the ones that know that if I work hard and I put all my effort in, then I'm also going to get the reward. And I think that's, one of the difficulties when you're in a company is you're kind of always in the hands of someone else. And obviously that's a security to that. And it depends who your employer is. But for me, I like to be all in, I like to be all in, and I don't want to have the risk that someone else is going to tell me, oh, we're going to change direction. So I guess that was always what I was looking for, to be all in. And then I think actually one of the catalysts for me going down maybe a different route is I at the same time as starting my master's in blockchain, I got pregnant with my first child. And after having my child, it was one of those situations where it was, okay, I want to, a career is really important to me. Business is really important to me. It's in many ways my passion and my hobby, and it's like a puzzle to me. I love working out and these solutions. But when you're working in a company, you're kind of stuck. I have to work full time on someone else's hours, and to also be able to have the lifestyle you want, whether that's as a parent or other passions you have. But I know as a mother, I want to be able to be flexible enough to be around for my children, to be around and live the life I want. And so again, it came back to kind of being in charge of my own destiny and being able to say, something, I want to be able to give all to to succeed in my dreams as a businesswoman, but also be able to be a good mother and have the lifestyle I want. So I think those are kind of, the catalysts which made me take the leap.
Okay. I'm actually really happy because somehow before I knew you, I knew that it's going to happen one day because I saw you in action getting agitated of, let's say, if you had an idea and you wanted to execute it and you had to go through the bureaucracy of the corporation, and then this person has to say yes, that person has to question you, and the opportunity is gone. So I knew one day you're going to go like, enough.
Yeah, and these corporations often they can't stay in it for the long game. They're always looking, they need to report to a board. They need to report to someone, so they need the numbers, and so they just want you to give them a quick result. And I'm actually not a believer in that.
Right.
We've got to be focused long term, and it takes time and commitment to get where you want to go.
Okay, and I asked this question from all of my speakers. So, do you have any entrepreneurship moment when you were a young kid? What was the first entrepreneurship moment? Even if it's simple, even if you were selling potatoes, go for it.
That's a good question. I mean, I do remember, I used to do some, I remember getting my grandmother's recipe for some biscuits. They were slightly spicy cheese biscuits. Sound gross, but they're quite nice. I remember cooking them and, give them out to my parents' friends, and my dad just being like, you have to start a business, you have to. And I remember being sort of pushed in that way. And then, sort of, I can't say I was one that went through some path where I took it very far, but no, I remember sort of taking those out and going out and trying to sort of push them on people. But that's it. I mean, I had a childhood where I moved around a lot. I lived in a different country every 1 to 2 years because my dad was in the army. So it was so that's the only example I can give.
Selling recipes, I like that.
Oh, and I used to make my own maths books. That's pretty sad.
Your what?
I used to write on an old Amstrad computer from the age of about 7 and print my own books out so that I could do my own sums. Yeah, because I am a bit of a geek.
Well, that's fascinating if I know what that is. All right, so what we have here. So when you switched from corporation to entrepreneurship, what worked and what didn't work? What did you find easy and what did you find difficult?
So I think things take longer than you expect. You get a lot of stories. You always hear the part where people get to the brink and they're suddenly successful. And I think you often don't hear how long it takes them before to get to that point. So you start in this journey and you get very excited and you're passionate. And I found that a lot of other people were passionate too, and there's a lot of talk, but it's not everyone else's priority. But when you go full into something, it's your full priority. So I found, that's difficult. You want people to be, and you said it. I'm a bit of I want to get things moving, fast mover type person, and it's as I said, I left the corporate world because I want to have more responsibility. But no one's an island, and we work with so many different people, and there's a lot of different things that have to come together. So I think that's difficult. And finding a community, at work you have a community, you have your employees, and that's why something like Startup Grind is so important. Whereas when you first start your business, I mean, I have a great partner, but for a long time it was just the two of us, and you don't, you're just fighting this fight alone. So I think getting out there and seeing people and getting other people that feel the same thing. You also get a lot of doubt. People, again, until they see the tangible success at the beginning, they're like, what are they doing? Why is she doing this? I don't know what's going on. And you have to kind of just say, something like, can't listen to anybody else. I have to stick on my own path. But that can also be difficult because you need people to sort of share your troubles with. So I think those are probably the challenges. And also I stepped into a completely two new industries, blockchain and healthcare. I'd never been involved in healthcare. I didn't even particularly have a technology background. My background is business, and so that's what I sort of bring to the table. So yeah, coming something completely new, that's definitely challenging. You've got a lot to learn from, but I also think that was one of my benefits. People that come with so much baggage of how the industry is and how things work, they can't see things with a fresh eye, and there's an element of being naive at the very beginning. It's a good thing if you know all the problems you're going to face.
It's a very good thing.
I think I knew, you hear plenty of people say if they knew how difficult it was going to be, they knew how much time it's going to take, maybe they would have made a different decision. So it's better they don't know until you've already done it.
That's one of the secrets of startups, because you start very small, so you have to make things work. So you kind of get pushed into being innovative and being, let's say, coming up with fresh ideas. So this push, and on the other side, the comfort that the big corporation have, that's where it gets differentiated. And that's where startups, they have like 10, 20, 30, 100x growth within like a year and a half. And you had a very good point about support, because I did startups before, and one of the challenges is that, at the beginning is all glory, all exciting, and things happen, and then kind of it slows down. And you're like, okay, what do I do now? Like, things might not work. Maybe they're working, but they're going really slow. And then you need a community. You need other people and other like-minded people to tell you, hey, you're not alone in your journey. We're going through the same thing, and
and that it's normal.
You'll be fine. Just stand it, and you go through it.
Just keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So before I go to my next question, since that we talk about this, one of the most important things when starting as an entrepreneur is getting in control with your habits. I can agree on that with Georgina as well. And our next event is actually a workshop. We're doing a new way of events. It's going to be interactive, and people are going to be working with each other. So it's not going to be like a speaker style. It's going to be a workshop. And I'm putting the link on the chat, because last event I forgot to promote this event, and I had to go everyone one by one to promote it. So I just put the link onto the chat. It's going to be a workshop. We're going to talk about how to build good habits and how to break bad ones. And these are some studied systems that I've been trying myself for a while, and it works. It accelerates you. It changes your life. And as an entrepreneur, you need habits. Even as a normal human being, you need habits. If you let's say, if you want to quit coffee or something, which I have right here, quit coffee, you need a system to quit it. You cannot quit it on your own. So we put this workshop right here. I put the link on the chat. Go ahead and check it out. RSVP right now, because I'll be chasing you after. All right, so let's get into. Okay, there are two topics that we had to talk before, and I told you that I want to ask you. One is about female entrepreneurship, because except from normal entrepreneurship, there are other challenges for female founders, which we want to kind of talk about it, because if you're not aware of it, then you kind of don't know if it exists. And also, Georgina had 2 kids, and she just had a newborn a month and a half ago, exactly on the same day that I invited her to join Startup Grind. She had a baby on the same day. So another challenge is parenthood and motherhood, right? So you've got two big challenges ahead of you, and you're going through it. You're managing it. You're doing an excellent job. And I want to ask you, first of all, what are the challenges? And second of all, how do you overcome them?
Okay, so I mean, as a female, my first, career was in accounting. When I joined the accounting firms, it was still definitely male dominated. I think that's actually changing in accounting. I think there's more females now. I guess as part of that, I'll be honest, I've been so used to being the only female in the room often that you sort of don't think about it. But it definitely, business is about connections and networking and connecting with people, and it is easier to connect with people that are more similar to you. So when you are the only female, or even in Cyprus when you're the only foreigner, and when you're this, it definitely does make things more difficult to sort of connect on that level. I mean, it's easy once you start talking to people, but there's not that sort of, people are more comfortable with people they know, for example. But so as a female, I really never thought about it. I just got on, and I think it's one of those topics that really needs to be addressed on a large scale, but on an individual scale, you can't spend too much time worrying and getting upset about it, because you just have to get on and I move forward. But I must say the difficulty came more in becoming a mother, because that's when you start having all these different pressures in life. There's a lot of, I think what's happened in recent years is it's fantastic that women have been given much more of a stage to be businesswomen. They've been given all this opportunity, but then at the same time, there's still an underlying expectation that they're going to be the primary caregiver, that they're going to be the ones at home. And the men are just kind of keeping the same expectations of working. And so women are ending up with these sort of dual role, this sort of two full-time responsibilities. And, if a man is working full-time and with the kids in the evening, with the kids at weekend, great, fantastic. And if a woman is doing that, they're kind of frowned upon a bit. And I think this is also unfair on men, because men are also not given the opportunity. If a man says, what, I'm going to take 4 months paternity leave, they're thought of as not being serious in their work, and that's not an option. And like, for example, in the UK, you can now switch maternity or paternity, so the man can take it or the woman. If a woman takes it, that's normal and expected. If a man takes it, no, they're not committed to their job. So it's actually a downside for both sides. But yeah, in a practical world, it gets very difficult to handle this effectively what was a full-time job of being a mother. You're trying to sort of even with childcare and support, that doesn't take away all the responsibility, and you don't want all the responsibility taken away. So that becomes very difficult. And I mean, personally, as you said, I had a baby 2 months ago, and so I was pregnant for most of this year. And I've got to admit, COVID helped me, because I had meetings and investment pitches, and I was embarrassed to show I'm pregnant, because I know that I'm going to be judged as a woman. Is she serious? Is she committed? Has she got something else going on? So I was quite happy I had this kind of block that no one could see, and it's really sad that I felt the need to hide that. And since having a baby, I haven't stopped working. I just now, and I've got much less embarrassed about it now. The baby's on most of my calls, and that's just how it is. And the nice thing again about COVID is it's brought this kind of, it's a nice idea to have a work-life balance, but the way our life is now is everything is a bit mixed together. And maybe it's easy just to accept that and to start figuring out a new way of working, rather than keep on trying to keep the split, which just doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So yeah.
And we've got a question from Emily, which is related. It says, do you think it can be empowering to add female to the role, or do you prefer founder as a standalone phrase?
It's a good question. I'll be honest, when I first get these sort of, oh, you're female, I am a bit resistant. I'm a bit like, is that what matters? But at the same time, I realize that it's a topic which needs to be discussed. So while on a personal level, I don't feel the need to be identified as a female founder, it's a topic that needs to be discussed because there's a lot of unconscious, subconscious discrimination against women. And if it's not brought to the surface, then it's going to stay there. So, difficult to say.
Okay. So moving to, because now we're talking about half an hour, and last time people wanted a bit shorter events. I love to get into like details and go on an hour, but everyone has their own lives. So I'm going to jump right into Aria Health app, right? So first of all, how did the idea start? You kind of touched upon it, but I have it here as a question. And what is your vision?
So I'll start with the story of how it started. I mean, on my side, it started with I was doing a thesis. I was doing my blockchain. I was looking at what should I study for blockchain, and I had a friend of mine, Fadi, and we were talking. Supply chain looked interesting. Everyone was doing stuff in the fintech world. We want to do something a bit different. Blockchain isn't just cryptocurrency. And then one day, his wife was rushed to hospital, and she was in agonizing pain in her sort of abdomen, but they didn't know what was wrong with her. And the first thing they needed was her medical records. And no one could find them because, we go to different doctors all over the place. If we even get given our medical result, we have it in a paper format in a file somewhere. And as a result, they couldn't even take her for scans because they weren't sure, does she have allergies? What's her past history? So they had no idea what was wrong with her. So she was left waiting for about 4 hours and was agonizing pain, didn't know what to do, didn't know who to contact. Eventually they said, okay, we'll take you through for a scan. Found out she had an ectopic pregnancy and was bleeding severely internally. So they needed to call her gynecologist. She had given birth 2 years beforehand in that hospital. And they didn't even have her doctor's name on record. Of course, they had their doctor's name, so they contacted them. And he rushed in and rushed her to surgery. And it was very touch and go. And thankfully, everything was fine. She even had a baby the year later. But it was really shocking. It was really this moment where you just go, this is crazy. I pick up my phone and I can order any food I want. I can get any music I want. I can access my online banking. Where are my medical records? My most important information. I don't know what I got, I don't know what vaccines I've got. I got bit by a cat a few years ago, and they're like, have you had a tetanus jab? I have no idea when, where, This is every single day I talk to people, and they're managing a parent's health who has multiple health conditions. They're carrying around files worth of, paper, like briefcases full of paper to different doctors. There's an emergency. People have chronic conditions. And we don't have a solution to this problem. Like health technology is just very behind. So we kind of had this combination of, okay, we have a real problem here. And then we're also, as it happens, experienced in blockchain and knowledge about that side. And we said, this is it. This is one of the reasons that we feel that health technology hasn't moved forward. Is our only option right now is to go and give this super sensitive information to a central company. And people are starting to say, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable giving all my data to Google or to Amazon or to Facebook. We've seen that they have so much information about us, and we don't know how that's going to be used. And we don't, we've seen scandals like Cambridge Analytica happen. And the reason, GDPR has become such a big deal is we're nervous what's happening with our data. So we, really strongly feel that it's only really through a decentralized system that we can solve this problem, that we can actually give control back to people, give them that information, give them a unified access to their data without them having to trust one party. So yes, our vision is all about empowering patients. So what we do is we go and we connect with medical providers. At the moment, we're working with laboratories. So we work, we're in the American Medical Center, used to be the American Heart Institute at the moment. In fact, we recently launched and we're running our pilot there. So you can go to the laboratory, you go, it's very simple. You download our app, you create an account in a minute. Give your ID to the receptionist and they will put that in their system, and immediately it connects you to their laboratory information system, and you can get all your past laboratory results and all your, your current laboratory results. And then we take kind of a step further, that we actually get the data in a format that means we can highlight if you've got a problem result, we can do trend analysis, and in the future we'll be introducing more sort of analysis on the data. So we're really, for us, it's all about empowering the patient, giving them back the control, giving them transparency. Where are my records? Who has access to them? So the other thing you can do with our app, as you can see on the images, you can share your records with your doctor. So we actually have two apps. We have a patient app, you can get all your medical records, and then you can share them to the doctor's app. So the doctor can also have access to all your medical records, do trend analysis, see more information about you, but you have a full transparency log of where your records are at any time, and you can revoke access, you can give access to one record or multiple records, however you prefer to share your data. And we recently actually also received a grant from the Research and Innovation Foundation, and for a COVID-related project, where we're now building a platform for researchers and for the government to be able to share your data to them as well, so that it can be used for sort of different reasons as well. But again, it's completely under your control. So that's sort of Aria Health and what we're doing. And we feel the blockchain is super important, but at the same time, you don't have to worry about it. That's a technology in the background. We're giving you the opportunity to access your health and to have control of your health, but in a really simple and user-friendly way. So yeah, that's the company we have. And yeah, we are at the American Medical Center now. In the next, I was hoping to announce today, but probably next week we'll be announcing our next hospital, to give you a hint, one of the hospitals in Limassol. And we have a number of other of the major laboratories joining as well. So we're really growing and really want to, give power back to the patients, but also connect the whole industry, connect the doctors, connect the researchers, connect the government. So that's what we're working on now.
I love it. And I want to congratulate you, because today launched
we're out there,
right?
we launched.
Yeah, you say congratulations. Let's write number one on the chat. That's the only way we can do. Congratulations, Georgina. And you said tomorrow you'll be testing it at American Medical Center, right? So anyone is, more than welcome to go at the location and join Georgina.
So you can go get your lab results, download the app, receive all your results from the American Medical Center. Yeah, the full working product is there, and we're getting people on board to see it, to give us their feedback, to talk to us, to decide, what we can, how we can keep on making it better, to keep, making it better for people. That's what matters.
Okay. Now, it's congratulations on everything you've achieved. You've done it so fast as well, which is very impressive. And there are people, I know numerous people that they're targeting the same industry, and again, it's impressive to go head to head to them and stand your ground. We've got a question from Panis. He says, how are you different from VeChain?
Okay, so VeChain, they have first of all, they use a public blockchain. We actually store medical records on the blockchain, which is really important, because it's all about, one key feature of blockchain is mutability, which means the records can't be edited, which means people can trust them. So if you're not storing those records, then all you're doing, and I think this is what VeChain are doing, all you're doing is just accessing the records from a centralized system effectively, or back from the original lab system, which means they can be changed. And that's why we've had, discussions with, for example, insurance companies and doctors say, researchers, for example, spend 20 to 30% of their budget on verifying the information is accurate and hasn't been changed. I mean, that's crazy, just between it moving systems. So yeah, VeChain doesn't do that. They also don't have the ability to share information to doctors. Instead, what they do at the moment is they have a platform for doctors, but all doctors can see all information, so they don't have the control. We are very much patient-centered. That's more sort of the doctor first. The doctor can access it, but it's not the patient's choice. The key thing for us is the patient's choice. They are the ones sharing it. They are the ones that can take back control.
Right.
So, and we also have analytics. I mean, I think at the moment they've only launched with COVID results, so they just have the one result at the moment. Whereas, yeah, now our focus is really on that full health picture, that control for the patient, that transparency. So yeah, it's quite a different solution. They've done great at getting out there. You know, they've connected with a hospital or two. But yeah, they don't use the blockchain in the same way. They don't give, and it's not really in the hands of the patient.
I see. Thank you. Just a reminder for everybody, Q&A, the section is on the chat on the top. There's a second tab. It says Q&A. Write your question there. And if it's appropriate to ask and is related to ask in the middle of the talk, I will ask it. And all the rest of the questions, we'll go through them at the end of the event. And there's going to be a Q&A. So the chat is all yours. The Q&A chat is all yours. Okay, so let's move a little bit from your company and go to the industries. And I would suggest to get started with digital health, since we're already into the healthcare industry. So what are some trends? What are some new inside information that is happening in digital health, in healthcare in general? What are
Okay,
you
well,
noticing
obviously,
right
because of this year with COVID, I mean, it's just been a sudden awareness. Oh my gosh, we need to get our health systems up to par. You know, they're really not there. And especially when it comes to data, when it comes to data and accessing data, the digital health industry is very sort of behind. I know personally, on every time, not every time, but regularly when I go to hospitals and laboratories and talk to them, even systems like their medical record systems just aren't good enough. And a lot of people, their mindsets are changing. They're starting to go out there and look for better systems. The other thing which has really surprised us is this change towards patient-centric. Now, this was something being talked about before, but being talked about by the patients, by people, by the innovators. And we were expecting the hospitals to be a bit resistant to this, to be a bit nervous about giving the data back to the patients. But that's really not been the case. They've actually had a realization. I think GDPR has kind of switched the mindset of saying, you know what, this isn't your data. This is the patient's data. And so now we're seeing a lot of hospitals wanting to move into that. So building patient portals, building different mechanisms to sort of give the power back to patients. And once you do that, then you have data which patients can use and can share. And that then kind of leads into the artificial intelligence world as well, because all these machine learning, artificial intelligence, they are all only as valuable as the data they have. So the better access we have to health, to data and digital health, then we can actually start doing artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all these features. So that to me is where the industry is going, very much towards data privacy, control, patient-centric, new technologies for the hospitals, more efficiency in the hospitals, and again, technologies that help efficiency. I've had a lot of hospitals ask us, will you build us platforms that do all sorts of things? I have to say, got to stay focused. But yeah, to do with bringing together all their different systems. So there's just a huge drive and towards health tech at the moment.
And if I ask you right now, let's say someone comes to you, one of the audience randomly comes to you and says, I want to get started in digital health and healthcare industry without becoming your own competitor, what are some areas that are
so I think while there are a lot of electronic medical record solutions out there, they're not good enough. They're really not. I really think if someone came in with a fresh eye, and this is where I say, like, almost not being in the health industry helps, because like we did for our app, we didn't go and look at other health apps. We went and looked at fintech apps, and we went and looked at industries which have already advanced and said, okay, what are they doing and how can we bring this to the industry? So I think that's really needed. And the other problem kind of is interoperability. Okay, we're focusing on it from the side of medical records and bringing records together, but there's a lot of other information within a hospital, and especially a hospital, they have so many different systems. And trying to bring those together and find solutions to help them there, and to connect them, that's also very valuable. So
Excellent. So from the audience, whomever is looking towards healthcare or not, maybe from today is looking towards healthcare, first of all, that's information for you. And also you've got Georgina as well.
If anyone's got any solutions, I've got plenty of people that want them. So, and I'm not going to create them. So yeah, always willing.
All right. So the other pillar of your company is blockchain and decentralization. Just before we get into this topic, I want to let you know that we have our audience varying from experts in blockchains all the way to not knowing what it is. Okay, so let's keep the talk for all the demographics within our room today. So what are first of all, what are you seeing in the blockchain industry? What are the new moves, new information, the drive? What are you experiencing? So the same question that I ask you for digital health, let's focus it on.
So blockchain's been one of those funny ones, which has been a really sort of popular term, and then we still struggle to see things really get into the mainstream. I think people are finally sort of accepting, like, cryptocurrency, fantastic. Like, there's so much value there, but that's one topic, and I'm not going to sort of go so much to that topic, although the price of cryptocurrency is an interesting topic at the moment. It's looking good. But I think people are really starting to realize that blockchain for other sectors is needed. So there's been so much focus on crypto, fintech, and now it's starting to go into other sectors like insurance sector. That's looking very popular. KYC, know your client. Okay, that's kind of still, well, some of it's sort of banking, but sort of on a different side of it. That's very popular. I'm trying to think. Yeah, we're seeing some different platforms come out. So before there was a big focus on Hyperledger, and because IBM built it, and a couple of sort of core blockchains, but now there's been a few new ones coming out with new features, like multi-chain has a lot of new things, and a focus on actually storing the records and storing information on the blockchain, which before was a real issue and not possible. Other than that, I would say actually blockchain, it's not about it being a trend now. It's about it moving from being a trend to being something in the mainstream. But definitely different industries rather than just fintech are starting to sort of jump on it more.
It's moved from early adaptation to an early majority, even a bit more advanced, because there are a lot of issues in the world which decentralization is the answer. And people are realizing that whenever a new tech comes out, there are resistance against the new tech and new movements, but when it runs its course and survive that resistance, then it gets to a point that it kind of goes all over the place. So we're living in a very interesting times right now, which not only blockchain, we've got so many areas right now that is new, is validated, and it's ready to be tackled. And all the old generation, all the old style way of doing business and way of doing different aspects of life are changing. like we've seen it in 2020. Like no one expected it. Boom, everything changed. So it's a very interesting time. For some people, it's frustrating, understandable. Some people dedicated their entire life to a specific topic, which is going out of trend. But for some people that they love innovation, and especially entrepreneurs, it's a great era. Okay, so Panis ask, do you believe blockchain is the internet 2.0?
I think I'm kind of following from what Hess just said. It's not. I don't even think the word is blockchain. I think the word is decentralization. I think that is the future. I think the way that we've been working now with these few companies really taking too much control. I mean, they're almost having more control than governments. And I'm not trying to play a scaremongering, don't trust these big companies. They have their value. They've done a great job. But I think the next level is needing to change that balance of power. We need to shift the power back to the individuals. And so in that sense, yes, I do. I do think this is how everything's going to move. And I do think even cryptocurrency, which is taking a while to catch on a mainstream, things like what's happened this year with COVID suddenly has changed the game a bit, where suddenly people go, actually, it's easier for me to use this cryptocurrency than to use the normal currencies. And once it starts becoming a practical use, then that's when the tide sort of changes, when people actually really start feeling the need for it. Often with innovation, it's a funny one, because a true innovator almost builds something before it's needed. And it takes a while for people to sort of suddenly realize, oh, actually, before, why do I need to do? I remember when, internet first came out on mobiles, and I was like, ridiculous concept. Why would I need internet on a mobile? And it's not until you start seeing it in use and the practice of it that you suddenly go, okay, no, I really need it. And so, yeah, I do think, decentralization is the future, whether I call it Internet 2.0, it's just a term, but I guess, or Web 3.0, I think they call it, then yes.
Yeah, that's true. Just a reminder to everyone else, if anyone has questions, write it in the QA section of the chat, and it will be asked. So moving on, since we're living in Cyprus, and most of our audience are from Cyprus, then I like every event to kind of drift into Cyprus topics. Since we're talking about blockchain, and we have an island that is very active in blockchain, how do you find blockchain industry in Cyprus, and how do you rate it?
I think it's like, I mean, the University of Nicosia has done a great job at kind of bringing the education side, which is always the first start to something new and some new technology, and that's really great that it's brought people in. As a result, with that and with sort of a bit more awareness in this country, it has meant that there is more acceptance, I think, of the technology than in other countries, because they're aware of it. And I don't, often when I speak to people abroad, there's a bit of a fear factor. Like, for example, in the UK, there's a lot of fear to do with blockchain, because they think of Bitcoin and they think of sort of the negative press release. Yeah, which I actually don't find that much here. Obviously, you get that, but not that much. For example, I mean, the government released its blockchain national strategy last year, about a year ago. And okay, they had a lot of plans for introducing blockchain into the public sector, and actually they did a sort of expression of interest, and they sort of graded about, I think it was about 70 proposals, which is quite a lot. We obviously put ourselves in there, and we were A-graded, and we're discussing now how to bring it into YESI. But isn't that amazing that our government is sitting there saying, okay, how can we bring blockchain into YESI? How can we bring blockchain into all these different areas? And there is a fear, and we spoke with the blockchain with the government, and there's still that we want blockchain, but we don't want to lose our control, and that's the tough bit. That's the tough bit thing. Okay, it's not about you losing control, but naturally, if you're going to give more control, as I said, to the individuals, you are taking power away from you, and that's quite a scary thing to kind of manage. You want to move forward, but you also don't want to lose your footing. But I would say, yeah, I'd actually say that probably Cyprus is more open than other countries. And, you know, I've also had conversations with the NHS UK, and they do a lot of sort of formal kind of research projects, but they're not open to it. Not open. No.
They're not ready yet. I see. And let's say if someone within our audience or the people that are watching later from the recorded video, if someone wants to get started, what is in Cyprus, obviously, what is the first step? Is there a place they can go to? Is there people they can talk to?
Started in blockchain
study?
Yeah. I mean,
yep.
The Masters in Digital Currency is a great start. Or not a start, is a good program, but they have their first program is the Introduction to Digital Currency, which is a free course. So that's always worth going on. I'm not promoting it because I used to work there. I'm promoting it because genuinely it's one of the most convenient sort of courses. There's a lot out there online now, and you know, if anyone does want some sort of, you know, I've got a few of my favorite videos, which if someone wants to message me, and I can share. Not my videos, no.
Videos,
not my videos. Although, I'll try and promote my stuff at the same time. But yeah, no, there's some really good videos just made out there, because there's a lot. You know, you go online, you search blockchain. So I'll probably start that way. And okay, there used to be the decentralized conference every year, which was in Greece last year, in Cyprus the year before. Okay, I think they're doing some online seminars now instead, but that was always a great event to get connected and meet people. But otherwise, just message me, and I'll put you in contact.
Message Georgina. Want to get started? Just put a banner. Want to get started? Message Georgina. All right, let's kind of close up our session. I prepared this question. Since 2021 is coming really soon, what do you think are some of the highlights happening next year? And what are some of your
industry,
predictions?
for blockchain? Everything.
2021 for everything related, of course, related to entrepreneurship.
There are two topics which I think are the core topics now. One is health tech, of course. That is definitely core, and it's been really interesting to see how much money is being sort of pushed into that. And that can be anything in the area of obviously research, from medicines to vaccinations, etc., COVID related and not, but also much more technology platforms. And the other is data protection. I think there was the Gdpr kind of was brought in, but it's illegal. You know, it's legal. It's sort of trying to cover up the holes in the current system. It doesn't really give people control and power. The purpose of Gdpr is to give power back to people, to give them back the access to their data, to control their data. But right now, it's only through, you know, you can write an email, please delete my data. You know, it's not very practical. So I think more solutions which actually integrate not patients. That's I always think of patients. People being able to have access to their data and control it, and actually take, you know, have more transparency over their data. Okay, I'm of course talking about two areas which I'm involved in, but I'm grateful, because I started in this a while ago, that I really actually think those are the two industries which are going to be the big topics which are going to move data privacy and health technology.
Excellent. Okay, let's close it up with a question. Not a question, just is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
I guess the audience here is an audience who are fascinated by entrepreneurship. So just a message of do it, go for it. I think often we get a false picture of entrepreneurship, that you need to be in your 20s, working 20 hours a day, just all in on sort of creating a product. And the truth is that there are many different ways, and everyone has different lifestyles and different ways of doing things. And if you're committed, and actually it's a long game. It's not a game of jumping, create something. Going to the blockchain world, it's not about ICOs. It's not about making loads of money really quickly, raising money, and the product lasts a year or two or doesn't even get created. Yeah, and there's a big hype and it crashes.
About that.
You need to be in it for a long game. Yes, it can be difficult and painful, and we want it to be faster, but you can do it. Anyone could do it if you have a desire and a passion. You got to do it. You got to stick to it. And you've got to look after yourself in the meantime. You've got to have a balance. You've got to be able to be persistent. In fact, the message of just work 20 hours a day, that's not going to last very long. Yeah. So
that's not going to work. Yeah. I got into this trap as well. It does not work. And personally, what I would say, the ending of this session, but Q&A coming up, is get your 8 hours of sleep. Do not listen to anyone on internet and memes and quotes and all that. You need the 8 hours. It's a lot of misunderstanding about sleeping. You shouldn't sleep and all that. No. You got to get your 8 hours, because the speed that you're going to have on the following day, it's going to be faster. And the hours that you slept, you're going to get triple of those
every
hours
time I've thought, I'm just going to stay up and work late, and then I feel really good and I got all this stuff done, and then plus normally you can't sleep because you've been working, and then I wake up the next day and it's my most inefficient day, and I could have just slept and had a good day the next day. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. That's so true. So before we go to Q&A, I would like to again talk about our sponsors and our partners. Let me just bring that up real quick. So our sponsor is Sorxmedia, a digital agency and advertising agency in social media and Google, PPC, and all that. Videography, commercial making. We saw a video at the beginning. SEO, web development, all the goodies to grow your business. We've got University of Nicosia as our partner, and we talked about, we're all from University of Nicosia, so definitely a place to check out. We've got Google for Startups and Youth Makerspace Larnaca, which if you want to create crazy innovative stuff, they have the equipment and it's free, so you can go check it out. And I'm just going to share with you the slide of myself, chapter director. My blog is over there. You can read the post, my latest post about entrepreneurship, business, and spirituality. You can add me on LinkedIn, and of course, you've got Georgina Kyriakoudes. The website is there. Her email is written there. Everything is recorded, so you can go back to the video and get the text. And obviously, you can either contact her on email or LinkedIn. And this is the contact for the chapter. And if you haven't done it already, go ahead to RSVP for the next event. It's going to be a workshop. I'm going to put the link again here for the people that missed it. So go ahead. There's a workshop about habits, how to build good habits and how to break bad habits. You can use it in your life. You can use it in your business, in your relationship, because our productivity is directly correlated to habits. And with no further ado, let's get into Q&A. So I had one question which remained from the talk from Victoria. And by the way, just letting you know, if you just write on a chat with the emoji of a hand or a smile or whatever, I'll bring you on the stage and you can ask your question live from either Georgina or me. So Victoria asked, speaking of no one is an island, how are you finding the startup ecosystem in our island and the support?
Well, it's been difficult this year because, there's not been as many events and things. I think Cyprus has a really good startup community out there. They have some good events. I've sort of worked a little bit with spaces like Aria space, and I know there's like the Ideas Incubator. So I think there are some good options there. And I mean, personally, I'm trying to get more involved in the space because I've maybe not been that involved. But definitely, I think more and more I'm seeing good groups here. But I think with COVID, it's been a bit difficult. So it's really good to have events like this to get people together.
All right. And what do you think is missing from our ecosystem?
I think we're very limited in our accelerators and incubators. I mean, I know of sort of 2 or 3, and you know that's they have specific ways of working. So I think we could have more versions there. More events generally. I think getting people together, talking to people. Yeah, that's all I can say.
All right. Okay. So, unlike the last event, we have less question now. So, I'll wait a little bit to see if anyone has a question. Raise your hand, write it in Q&A, and we're going to ask it. Other than that, we're going to go ahead into breakout rooms and see if this time it works or not. So, let's see. Stage is open for your questions. Thank you, Victoria, for kind words. Q&A. We've got one here. Michalis, a good friend of mine. He asks, regarding GDPR, how people can be sure that their
so this is a
medical
big
records are safe.
topic. I mean, there's a lot of, we personally do a lot of work on the GDPR side. So we do a data protection impact assessment, which is a very sort of comprehensive document for GDPR purposes, which is approved by independent lawyers. We do cybersecurity audits. We have a lot of, obviously we do all the consents. You can see our privacy policies. So there's a lot there. When it comes to all this, you know, the hospitals are the main ones which really make sure that before we join us that all our systems are secure. And I mean, for us, we feel the safest thing is the blockchain adds a lot of security there. We can't access the records. It's impossible. There's no way I can, even if I wanted to. So that's the main thing I can say. It's safe. Also, on the blockchain, all data is actually kept anonymously. So even if somehow someone managed to hack the blockchain, everything's encrypted, and then they somehow managed to get the private key of the patient to decrypt the record, they still wouldn't be able to identify who that information relates to. So we have a lot of procedures in place to make sure that the medical data is safe.
Okay, thank you. I've got one question of my own, which I wanted to ask in the, it was improvised. I wanted to ask, but it didn't fit. So you've got tech involved in your idea. And of course, you develop an app. And did you develop it internally, or how did you solve the tech?
It's a really good question,
challenge?
and that was actually, probably one of the challenges. As I said, my background is more business. I'm not a tech person, and often you hear stories of, you know, you're a developer, you go and start developing your own thing. So, I mean, what we did is we focused more on the blockchain, which was the more, shall we say, niche technology, and we found a specialist company that works in blockchain healthcare. So we started by outsourcing. And having kind of a team that built the app and the blockchain. And then once we sort of got that sort of first product ready and felt confident that this is something of value and needed, the MVP, then we've now started bringing all the development in-house while keeping certain specialists on blockchain outside, because it's good to have those kind of real specialists there.
Perfect. Okay, and we've got a question from Lars. Wouldn't every doctor in the world have to interconnect with your system for it to work well? Is that the end goal,
So
or
it's not
how
so much
will it
the
work
doctor that needs
typically?
to. What we do is we connect with the hospitals. So to have your complete medical records, then we'd need to be connected with whoever your medical providers are. But, we're not talking the whole world. We're talking most people have 3, 4, 5 different medical providers that they work with. Then when it comes to the doctors, any doctor can download our app. We approve them to make sure they're legitimate doctors, and then patients can share that. So it's quite sort of easy on the doctor's side for them just to sort of access the information, access the app, and the patients being able to choose who they share the information with. But it's definitely something that is the network effect. It's, let's say, the same as Facebook. If you have one person on Facebook, 2 people, 10 people, there's not much value there. You need to get that network effect to really start getting the value. But at the same time, as I said, we go to a medical provider, we connect with them, and you immediately get all your historical records. So compared to sort of any options you have now, you can quite quickly get, if not everything, your whole records immediately. You can get a good chunk of them with just a few providers connected. And then, as I said, any doctor can join. We don't need all the doctors part of it. It's just purely for their value and the patients demanding it.
Yeah, the patients are the drive, I would say. So if the patients are on board, then since your company is patient-centric, that would be it.